There is a version of you that has never existed, and your brain has been protecting you from that fact your entire life, not metaphorically, not philosophically, neurologically, chemically, by design. And the terrifying part, the day it stops, it doesn't feel like a breakdown. It feels like waking up. In 1997, a 34-year-old man named David checked himself into a psychiatric ward in Munich, not because he was hearing voices, not because he was a danger to himself or others. He checked himself in because for the first time in his life, he could see himself clearly, and what he saw destroyed him. The doctors called it a depressive episode with insight, a clinical phrase for something far stranger. David hadn't lost his grip on reality. He'd gained it. After decades of seeing himself as charming, capable, well-liked, the distortion simply stopped. He described it like this. It was like living inside a painting your whole life. And someone turned on the lights, and you realized the painting wasn't beautiful. It was just paint. This wasn't madness. What David experienced has a name. Researchers call it depressive realism, and it changes everything you think you know about your own mind. Here's what the science actually says. In 1979, psychologists Lauren Alloy and Lynn Abramson ran an experiment that nobody talks about enough. They gave two groups of people a button. Pressing the button sometimes turned on a light, sometimes it didn't. The question was simple. How much control do you have over the light? The results were disturbing. Healthy people consistently overestimated their control. They believed they were influencing outcomes they had absolutely no power over. Depressed people? They were accurate. Almost perfectly accurate. Let that land for a moment. The people we consider mentally well, the ones we call functioning, optimistic, normal. They were the ones living in a distorted version of reality. And the people we classified as ill were the ones seeing things as they actually were. This is where the story gets complicated, because your brain isn't broken when it lies to you. It's doing exactly what it was built to do. Your brain runs something called the appositivity bias, a continuous unconscious filtration system that warps your perception of yourself. It makes you believe you're a better driver than average, a better friend, more moral, more capable, more remembered. Studies show that 93% of people rate themselves as above-average drivers, mathematically impossible, and yet almost universal. It inflates your memories of your own generosity and erases the moments you were petty, small, or afraid. It rewrites your failures as bad luck and your successes as skill. It quietly convinces you that people think about you far more than they do. It is a full-time editor, and it never sleeps. But here's the part almost nobody talks about. There's a specific psychological state that researchers have started calling the clarity window. It appears during certain kinds of depression, during late-stage burnout, sometimes during grief, sometimes in the aftermath of a major life disruption. It is the moment when the brain's self-protective filters temporarily fail, and people who have passed through it describe it with a remarkable consistency, not chaos, not confusion, stillness, a terrible, unbearable stillness. You see the relationships you've been maintaining out of fear, not love. You see the career you chose to prove something to someone who doesn't even remember the argument. You see the version of yourself you've been performing at for decades, for an audience that mostly wasn't watching. But then something strange happens. Some people don't go back. Not all of them fall apart. Not all of them check into hospitals like David did. Some of them, a smaller, quieter group, walk through that window and come out the other side as something different, not broken. Not enlightened in the way self-help books promise, just honest. Psychologists who've studied post-traumatic growth describe encounters with this kind of clarity as a possible ignition point. Not the depression itself, but the seeing or the loss of the comfortable, constructed self-image, as a potential beginning of something more real. The philosopher Nietzsche described something like this in his concept of amor fati, the love of fate. Not the fake positivity of pretending things are fine. The harder, stranger discipline of seeing things exactly as they are and choosing to move forward anyway, without the story. Without the flattering edit, just the raw, unfiltered fact of being you. There's a reason almost no one gets there voluntarily. The brain doesn't lie to you because you're weak. It lies to you because the truth, delivered all at once, is more than most minds can hold. Think about what you actually are. A temporary arrangement of matter on a rock hurtling through an indifferent universe, with no guaranteed purpose, no permanent memory, and a lifespan that is measured against the scale of cosmic time, so brief it barely registers as a rounding error. You have always known this, and you live anyway. You make coffee, you call your mother, you make plans for next summer. You fall in love with things that cannot last. You do all of this while knowing, somewhere underneath everything, that it ends. The positivity bias isn't denial. It's the mechanism by which finite creatures build infinite feeling lives. It is not a bug. It is perhaps the most extraordinary thing about you. David eventually left the hospital. He didn't go back to his old life. But he didn't fall apart either. Years later, when a researcher followed up with him, he said something that has stayed with me. I used to think the brain was lying to me. Now I think it was translating reality into something I could survive. I just needed to learn the language. The day your brain stops lying isn't the end of something. It might be the beginning of the one honest conversation you never had. The one with yourself. Not to destroy the story you've been telling. Not to replace warmth with cold, but to finally know which parts of the story are real. And choose to keep telling them anyway, with full awareness. With open eyes. That is not weakness. That is the only kind of courage that actually costs you something. The brain lies to protect you. The question is, what will you do with yourself on the day it finally trusts you with the truth?